Hello and welcome to this Eyes of Harmony podcast. On this podcast we talk everything Doctor Who, classic, new Who, any news that's going on, merchandise, you name it. We might talk about it. We might. I'm not promising anything. This is a maybe situation right now. But yes, so this week, well, first of all I want to talk about something which isn't Doctor Who, which is we made a short film. And on the screen now, I'm going to be showing you some clips of the old short that we made. So if you want to watch it and support, our filmmaking side careers, feel free to watch it. It's on my Vimeo. Give it a like. Hope you enjoy it. Let us know what you think. So it's a little adaptation of a Norwegian folk story about a woodcutter who meets a troll in a forest, and that's all I'm going to say. But it's it was really fun to film. It was literally just me and kind of Conrad and our friend Hector acting, and we had a really good time doing it. We did plan to reshoot, but sadly because of COVID we weren't able to. But I fixed it in post. More than anything has been fixed in post before, and I think I got it looking.
Anything.
I got it to a point that I was happy with it, so we released it because I thought we got some really good stuff in there for a 3-man crew. So if you feel like watching that, please do and let us know what you think. It's on YouTube on my personal account or Vimeo, but I'll link them below. There'll be links everywhere. There'll be links. Watch it, please. I need the money.
Except for YouTube don't do annotations anymore.
No, they don't, do they? But yes, so there we go. That's our little plug. Decided to get it in early, catch you guys out. Wow. So we both finished Fury from the Deep. Which what did you think? Because I'd kind of watched a bit more of it than you had last week. You'd watched 5 minutes.
I watched 5 minutes before the podcast started. Like I said, at least the initial thing was that the animation is I mentioned last week that the animation is something you need to grow into, and once again, that definitely happened here. I really did enjoy that actually quite a bit. I think you were saying that a similar thing last week, but I didn't quite expect to enjoy it as much as I did in the end.
I think it's because it's in a series. When you look at the series, how many great stories are in there, you're like, oh, well, surely one's got to be the weakest of all of them. But looking at it, I really don't.
One is, but...
yeah, but obviously we don't have Wheel in Space, which we'd need that one. But so far, I'd actually struggle to say which one of that series is the weakest. I think, well, actually, to be honest, it's a more confirming factor that this might be, in my opinion, the best season of Doctor Who ever. Start with 2. We just need the Abominable Snowman to like the actual, that version, because I love the book version. But if we get that one and Wheel in Space, we could actually really judge if this is the best season of Doctor Who history. Because after Fury from the Deep, I was like, it was original, it was crazy, it was full on. That was black and white Doctor Who. That's the kind of, especially from a Patrick Troughton era, that's maybe one of my favorites actually now. I think I'd need to watch it again in a bit.
Sure.
But I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it's a shame that it's lost. I think I feel like that's a cracking story, and it's a shame that we don't even have 1 episode or 2 episodes of it.
No,
because
just some clips, some high quality clips, granted.
There was some really interesting moments. I know the one where there was the opening the mouths was from Australian censorship.
That's where most of the clips we have come from, are the Australian censors. Actually, where we've got quite a lot of the clips of other serials. And also sometimes part of the reason why we don't have little bits of serials like we got in the Time Meddler, where you miss 15 seconds because the Australian censors cut it.
It was the only copy. It's kind of strange that it's like one of those. It's like, oh, we found the 15 seconds. This is going to change your opinion of the whole story.
Somebody gets brutally beaten to death.
Yeah, the doctor literally just switches like that, and he just punches someone to death, just completely murders them. Darkest moment in Doctor Who history confirmed. But so
I mentioned actually the other day. Sorry, I think when talking about enemy of the world that like, oh yeah, it's surprising that they got helicopters. That's kind of such a rarity in this era. But then like thinking about it, this now has
Yeah,
helicopters. The
they just went
invasion has
helicopter.
helicopters. And then later, a little bit later on, the ambassadors of death had helicopters. So it's like, okay, it's more common an
They got
occurrence than I
great.
thought.
Well, I think what my thing was that the enemy of the world, I think, was maybe the first to do it. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna confirm that though. I feel like
I
maybe
think
there's
it would
another
be.
story,
Yeah.
but I feel like it was the first one to really do something like that crazy kind of chase scene
Mm.
in the beach. And but yeah, like crazy, the helicopter and the loop was interesting. I was like, I wonder what that looked like when they actually did it. Like, did they get a real helicopter to do a loop the loop, or did they do a
Or just a
model?
model shot, I imagine.
Woo, on like a little stick. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really like that, Victoria's whole thing wasn't just chucked in at the end. I felt like it was, it was well built up to probably the best in terms of like companion leaving.
So, it was a little questionable. I felt that like her entire kind of arc over the season led down to the fact that her screens were being used to
Yeah,
destroy the monsters.
it
It's
was
like that was all she was worth.
yeah, your scream saved it this time. That
Which
was
is
that.
a little bit.
It did cringe me a bit that it was the screams, the high shrieking, which stopped them.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a long game. They played the long game with it. That was great characterization. What an arc! What a story arc. She didn't need to stop screaming. She needed to scream more because that's There we go. That's a story arc.
That's how you beat all the monsters.
Don't judge screamers.
Both in fiction and in real life.
Yes.
If you're facing real life monsters, just scream
at them.
Totally.
It's going to chase them away. To be honest, I find screaming really scary. Actually, you kind of want to get away from. So when you hear a child screaming, you're like, oh God, get away from me. It's like no one wants to hang around screaming things. It's like it's crazy. So yeah, there we go. That's the arc. That was the big Doctor Who arc of the best arc in Doctor Who history. Question marks with lots of arrows on the thumbnail, pointed to Victoria.
Thankfully, they gave Zoe rather more respect afterwards.
Well, apparently, what they pitched to Deborah Alting for Victoria was that she would be what basically Zoe ended up being. I think from what I read in another documentary or something. Like so
I wouldn't be surprised.
Originally, they pitched it.
I mean, that keeps happening to the female companions of Doctor Who. I think Caroline Ford was promised something different.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, that might have been it. Actually, it might have been Caroline Ford rather than Victoria. But yeah, like someone was promised more of they'd get more action, and yeah, they just didn't, which was a shame because I think like screaming Victoria is just such a shame of that Patrick Troughton era. But I kind of like it. She was an orphan. She didn't particularly want to go traveling with the Doctor. It was that she had nothing left, so she kind of just stuck with the only kind of parental figure that was available to her until she was ready to say, bye, kind of,
Yeah.
So I feel like there's actually it's different, actually about her, and it makes sense that she's scared. She wasn't the adventurous type. She got caught up in the Daleks, plan and evil, and was kind of just stuck there. I mean, she wasn't around for that long, really. You think Evil of the Daleks, Tomb, Abominable Snowman, Enemy, Web of Fear, Fury from the Deep. That's it.
Yeah, although to be fair, quite a lot of those stories were quite long.
Oh yeah.
So in terms of the actual time.
Oh yeah. In terms of making the shows, it was very strenuous. So I think sometimes a year for people, and they were like, "Whew, I'm good. I'm good." Fraser Hines just kept going though. Couldn't get enough.
Yeah. Well, he was. I mean, of course, he was planning to leave sooner than he ended up doing, but he just ended up making sense when he did.
Well, they were going to do the what was it, the Bard of McCrimmon or something? Yeah, which would have been the final Yeti. I kind of wish we had that story because while I like that, I think in terms of the saddest regeneration stories, I feel like the War Games is maybe up there for one of the saddest. The companions completely forgetting, everything that they did, apart from their first adventure, it's just sad to me. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like I kind of wish that Jamie didn't forget. I kind of wish there was this Scotsman out there who'd seen all this crazy shit and then he just, you know, took over his family home and carried on. I don't know. It's like it's bittersweet. It's because like I love for
Yeah.
war games. I really do. I do
Mm.
mean to watch it again soon, actually, because it's just
Mm.
banging story.
It's a great story.
But it's that bittersweetness. Like you kind of wish it didn't happen, but also I'm so happy that they did do that because sometimes you need that painful, you know, oh my heart, you know, like it's still like Rose Tyler leaving, even though she was actually a horrible person. But as a kid, like it still rocks me. Like I struggle to watch Doomsday because I know it's coming. It's like it's just sad. Same with you know, Donna at Journey's End. Extremely sad. What would you say was the saddest companion leaving of the classic era? Just strictly classic, because obviously New Who has a lot more time to work with their companions leaving.
That is tricky because there are quite a few quite sad ones. Of course, Susan's was kind of sad because the Doctor kind of took that whole decision out of her hands.
Yeah, it's like
Sarah James was quite sad, although that's mostly due to kind of the implications, kind of what is built upon later, as much as it was like the original leaving, I guess.
It depends if you count the proper Perry leaving or the romance out of nowhere. I would say like it's kind of funny like when Susan leaves, is like you're a grown up now, you need to make your own decisions for yourself. Except I'm making this complete decision for you. Get the fuck out my TARDIS. Like
it could have pulled a 180 and abandoned David and gone somewhere else. I mean, she had that choice, I guess.
Yeah, she might. Yeah,
although you know, attitudes of 60s Britain and all.
True. I think that Katie Manning's obviously Joe Grant's is pretty sad, but more from the Doctor's perspective, just that silent drive home after the Green Death is like that.
Yeah,
because like that's a very people always going about Sarah Jane, but Joe Grant was like, and the Third Doctor is an amazing duo. Like,
yeah,
don't forget those two, really.
Indeed. And I guess it has like, of course, you had like Katarina and Sarah Kingdom, although that'd only really be impactful if you actually saw the whole story.
Yeah, I think I need to see them before I'd be like, oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
I think. What would you say is the worst?
I mean, even the implications is quite sad. Like, you know, like
oh yeah,
both of them get like killed off quite brutally.
Yeah, the airlock that's actually pretty horrible, really.
I mean, also Sarah Kingdom gets like aged to death and turned to dust.
I wonder if that would hurt, like that whole. If you aged really quickly, I wonder if you'd feel it, or if you just kind of.
Well,
so quick
in the
it's
episode
over
they
and done.
portrayed her as being in agony. I say with the Doctor who was also aged, but
yeah, I'm guessing that is what led him to almost, I guess, regenerate when he did. Then you could always look at that. But yeah, I'd say so. What would you say is the most, like, the worst companion leaving out of all of them?
Ooh, the very worst, Dodo.
Oh yes, yeah. She just sends a letter. She's like, "See ya."
Yeah, Dodo by far. Like that's the lamest way they've ever sent off a companion. It's just like she kind of goes weird, then she disappears, and then she just sends a letter at the very end of the episode. It's like, come on, you couldn't have got her back for one more day in London, really?
Yeah, that is an awkward one. I'm trying to think who else. Oh, I found Polly and Ben's one really awkward actually at the end of the Faceless Ones. They just kind of like, right, yeah, oh, it's the same day, so bye, Doc. They kind of just have this awkward goodbye and then go. Like, I don't think the emotional point didn't really land. I found it awkward watching it at least.
A little bit of like a bit more of an emotional.
Oh yeah, no, slightly more there. Dodo's probably is the worst, isn't she?
Yes. Although Leela's was pretty lame too.
Yeah.
Hey, I fell for this random Time Lord guard I never really talked to.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave here. Now. Yeah, that one sucked. Romana's is a bit weird. The
Yeah,
Warrior's Gate is just kind of a bit out of nowhere. I mean,
it
Chameleon,
is.
that kind of companion, who isn't really a companion. The weird robot guy.
Oh, Chameleon.
Yeah. It's a random one, that one. I can't believe they made a whole box set out of Chameleon. I guess it makes
Just
sense.
the two
But
most important appearances. Or
yeah.
like,
I think his
it's his
only
only
two
appearance.
appearances. I think he
Yeah.
literally only appears in those two stories, even though he's supposed to be a companion in the background. Also, Bonnie Langford's leaving's a bit odd, but it's well acted by Sylvester McCoy and Bonnie Langford for Mel.
Yeah.
It's a really nice end bit. So that redeems that
She didn't
one.
bring Adric about on either side throughout this whole thing, but that's
Oh
maybe
yeah,
because,
yeah.
well, like it's sad. We don't really care about Adric, so
It's impactful though. Like even if they kill the companion like the least out of nowhere, like
I mean, it
imagine
was
watching
shocking.
on TV. That
but
must have been fucking mad to watch. Like that shit must have been
yeah.
crazy to watch.
Hmm.
Yeah. He got out of time, which is leading us on to you listen to Out of Time with the Fourth Doctor
I
and
did.
10th Doctor. How
I
was
did.
it? Let me know.
I enjoyed it. It very much does feel like a. I mean, that's what Dick Fans have always been very good at. It's just making it the audio adventure you're listening to feel like an episode of that era. It definitely did feel like something you would actually see on TV, only with the added addition of Tom Baker being there. And it was fun, kind of the interactions between the two and kind of how they bounced off each other. Throughout it, and kind of the differences where they kind of end up to some extent comparing and contrasting. Fourth Doctor catches on relatively quickly, even despite trying to the initial attempts to kind of hide kind of who he was. It just goes like John Smith, Tyler. Kind of a nice little nod. Yeah, it was a fun one. It's not exactly like a deep, like gripping your seat, this is gonna blow your mind sort of thing. But it was a fun 10th Doctor adventure with an interesting kind of premise with the Daleks. So yeah.
Cool. I look forward to eventually listening to it. I'll probably borrow your copy to save the monies. But yeah, cool. I do. At least if the main thing in that story is what you're really looking for in a multi-doctor story is really the interaction between the doctors.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not too. That's why, like, while the Five Doctors is a bit of a crazy story, it's it's the interactions of the doctors. That's what I'm there for.
Yeah, you don't really get that till the end.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know. That's kind of what's frustrating with that one. But it's nice seeing doctors cross over with different companions. Like Sarah Jane seeing the third Doctor again was really nice. That was kind of crazy. It's because you'd think, oh, I'm never going to see that version of a Doctor again. So yeah, but
only ended up reaffirming her assumption that the Doctor had died somewhere along the line because he never came back for her.
Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, like, yeah, it's I love multi-Doctor stories. I'm there more for the interaction of the Doctors, I guess, rather than the whole story. I obviously want a good story, but as long as it's a somewhat interesting story, then it's as long as the Doctors that part's interesting.
Yeah, and that's kind of what does kind of make it interesting about Time is that both of them have quite a different kind of thought process and approach to the situations at hand. Whereas the 10th Doctor goes for the more heroic option all the time. Tom Baker, is a bit more. That's the best way to describe it. I guess. No, logical or like.
He's more. He sits back and waits to see what happens. He's more of a tactical person. David's more like a get in there, swan in, save the day kind of thing. Bit more rash. Yeah. That's cool. I look forward to listening to that. I'm glad they finally did that crossover. What we wanted during the 50th,
Yeah,
which
yes,
obviously
indeed. Yes,
wouldn't
indeed.
happen. It just I feel like what they did at the end of a 50th was good enough. With all the
Mm.
TARDISes and it was cool enough.
Yeah, and yeah, looking forward to listening to the rest of the series as they come out because I got that one on subscription, so I think they got the Fifth Doctor and the Sixth Doctor. Not the seventh because I think I heard Sylvester McCoy was like in lockdown in France or something, something along
so
those lines. So he was actually
interesting.
couldn't do it at the time.
So it's all of these are with the 10th Doctor, aren't they? Then.
Yes, Tenth Doctor crosses over with blank.
Oh man, do you think they'll do a big box set once they do them all? Like a
Um, they don't usually. Like not usually at the end of a. Well, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I haven't.
If they do a full box set,
It's
then maybe I'll
usually
get
if
that
they do, they'd have the box set as kind of what they initially released, right? So when they
one.
released like the first volume of the 10th Doctor Adventures, for example, that was released as a box set as a multiple stories, whereas this is like I think more of a series thing, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But it'd be cool
So
if
they
they
do have
did, just
different
to save the
approaches to
space.
releases. So.
It's may just think that space. Maybe I'll get a digital account. I don't know. But nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
I guess it's a slightly related topic, although I won't have too much to say about this, but this also turned up. I forgot that I had actually decided to order the Eighth Doctor Time War Volume 3 and 4 like at the same time. So so I completely forgot I even had this on order. So this just showed up the other day. I was just like, oh, okay, I guess I have this now. I need to listen to the third volume. So I really enjoyed the first two, particularly the first one. The first one's great, like the first volume of the Eighth Doctor Time War. Second one's solid as well. I am interested in listening to the third because that has the Valiant, and this one has Terry Malloy back as Davros. So
nice.
all interesting stuff.
Terry Malloy
It's kind of
was
interesting
lovely.
with the design as well because it's like kind of the modern Davros like seating and costume with Terry Malloy's head. So it's like
Yeah, I did see that on the back
blend.
of the Doctor Who magazine actually when I got that, which I got for those who watched last week's, and I really enjoyed the comic, which was great. I just read last night Waris Hussein's bit about Marco Polo, and
yeah, I've only read the thing up to the Time Lord Victorious section so far. I haven't actually read beyond that.
That's great. I was really happy it was Marco Polo. I was like, oh sweet, because I'd love to see that story. Like everything around it sounds amazing. It looks amazing from the pictures. So I'd love to see it, but sadly cannot at the minute. But they've released the figure magazine, a couple more Dalek designs, which I guess are coming up in Timelord Victorious, which is the strategist and the executioner.
For the Eagle Moss.
I'm not completely sure. Let me just check.
Because actually, I'd like to add something on that because okay, so the magazine clears up exactly kind of the whole what should you because we were asking this before, like, is there a timeline? What order should things be kind of consumed in? Is the official release order the timeline? Their answer was that it doesn't matter so much because they've made sure specifically to keep every adventure as kind of its own entity and self-contained story enough to where you can just jump in anywhere and it won't affect you too much. But they include specific timelines for kind of each doctor / important character, which is good if you want to follow a specific story. But there was one thing I noted, which I didn't even take into consideration, but the whole Eaglemoss figure sets, they include a magazine, and they actually include story content.
Oh wow!
So actually, if you wanted to consume all of it, you'd have to also get those because there's 4 volumes of a magazine. So the beginning of the Daleks plan for the Daleks timeline, for example, starts with the Hero Collector magazine #1, and #2 is also included in there. So if you really wanted to get everything Time of Victorious, you'd have to get all the figures to get all the story, I guess. Which I assume there'd just be different things, but
it's so expensive, man. How much
I know,
money?
right?
Oh my god! Like
Uh,
they're 20 quid for the 2 Daleks.
yeah.
Oh my goodness! The strategist and executioner look great though. It's like a blend of new Who and old Who, in the set.
Indeed.
Ugh,
The
but
easiest one to follow out of all these like timelines though is the Ninth Doctor because he only gets like 2.
yeah,
He has like the Monstrous Beauty, which is the
the
Doctor
book,
Who magazine one, and then All Flesh is Grass,
which
which is
also
the BBC book
book.
one.
Yeah,
So he only gets those 2. So if you want to follow the Ninth Doctor story,
oh no,
it's
there's also the comic. There's also the comic.
well, that's what I said. The
Oh,
Monstrous Beauty, which is the comic,
oh
and
right,
then the
monsters.
BBC book is a 2 kind of adventures he gets throughout this whole thing.
Yeah, the comic's really great though. I did really love that, and it was really well drawn. I love the art style, and the dialogue was to Ninth Doctor to the T. I thought, and
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean it's been out a while. Pick up the comic, so I'm going to do a bit of a spoiler. Drop in 3, 2, 1. Having Rassilon be there like before they've discovered. I guess the timeless show stuff.
Yeah, this is a pre Time Lord Gallifreyans.
Yeah, so very cool, very very cool. I love that. I love that little twist. The other thing I saw on Doctor Who merchandise is this like retro TV heat changing mug, which is really cool. So it's like got the retro TV and it's kind of just got the Doctor Who logo on black. And when you heat it up, it like reveals some Daleks on the screen. It's very cool.
Oh,
It's very cute, but it's got one of those really annoying like rimmed mugs, around the top, so it makes it really hard to drink from. Which is a shame.
Right.
It's like the Thanos
I
mug.
found those too bad.
Do you have a Thanos mug with the gauntlet, the
No.
Infinity Gauntlet one? Maybe
No, I got an Incredible Hulk fist.
Oh yeah,
where
so it's that kind of thing where it has that that rim.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But it's very cool. I kind of want it, but how much is it? Oof, 15 quid. Better be a big mug for that amount.
They do tend to be.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the back, but the picture won't change. Oh, the page isn't loading. Well, that's frustrating. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this week. There hasn't been much else news. I guess we're waiting for the Comic-Con to come out to see if there's anything new coming out that way. But apart from that, not much else. I need to continue. I know I was watching like the William Hartnell era, but I'm really tempted just to kind of I just want to start from Rose and just power through all the series. Like I've got really like getting really in the mood just to literally power like 1 all the way to 10, 11.
Oh, wow.
I'm just really in the mood to, like, it's been a while since I've watched a lot of them, and after watching End of Time Part 1 not too long ago, I'm like, oh man, I just want to watch them. It's been so long since I have watched the Russell T Davies stuff. It really has, the odd one.
I mean, for me, kind of the Big Finish scratched that itch when I have it, because like I said, the 10th Doctor Adventures are really do a good job of feeling like like you're actually watching episodes from that era, and hopefully the 9th Doctor one will be as well. So, well, I mean, you imagine it would, right?
You'd hope.
Yeah,
but. Yeah, I think that wraps it up for this week's podcast. I think that's all you're gonna get. So there you go. So, what did you think was the best companion leaving of a classic era, or the worst? Let us know below. Comment about Timelord Victorious. Are you getting the figures? Do you think it's too much? Are they asking for too much? Are you enjoying the stories so far that are coming out of it?
Yeah, because they were like, we're talking about that a little bit in here. It was just like, oh, initially they were like only like a dozen or so, and now we're up to like 30.
It's crazy. Oh man. But yes, so, and make sure to check out our short film if you got time. Thank you very much. But yeah, we'll be back next week. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.